In this video, we're going to go over the power of the Inspector tool. The Inspector tool is found in the top right corner of your page, and when you click on it, you'll see all the options you have to edit the content on your page. The first thing we're going to look at is editing and changing the background of the page. So by clicking the Inspector, you can see that I can select different colors, or I can select different papers to create that background that I want. You can also use the Inspector to customize text. Click on the text you'd like to customize, then select the Inspector. You can change the size, the justification, make it bold, italics, or underlined. You can change the font into one of many fonts. You can also change the color, as well as add a background highlight to it. You can change the columns if that's necessary, and you can add shadow as well as changing the transparency of the text. Finally, after you move it into the place you like, you can also lock it into place, or you can move it front and back of other images or objects on the page. Lastly, you'll find the Translate button where you can select the language you'd like to translate it into, and that has now been translated. For images, after you select the image and then click on the Inspector, you can change the transparency of the image, add a link so that when the image is clicked, it goes to a web page, add a description for those who are blind or low vision for alternative text. You can also remove the background, as well as crop the image. And then finally, when you're happy with the image and moved it and maybe want to lock it in place, you can select the Inspector and lock. For video, when you select the video and then select the Inspector, you can change the transparency of the video. You can add captions, and you can lock the video in place. When you add a shape to the page from the Media tab, you can use the Inspector to change the color, the transparency, as well as add a shadow and a border to that shape. You can also change the color of the border, as well as the thickness. And like most objects, you can lock it in place with the Inspector. When you add an icon to the page from the Media tab, you can select the icon, then select the Inspector, change the color of that icon, as well as the transparency. You can add a link so that when the icon is clicked, it's taken to a web page. And you'll see that for our icons, the image description is already completed for you. And like all objects, if you'd like, you can lock it in place. With the audio tool, the Inspector gives us a lot of power. So I'm going to select my audio that I've recorded and then select the Inspector. And the first thing I can do is add a transcript. It's going to generate automatically, and I'll be able to use that transcript to actually create a translation later. Then I can change the transparency of the audio spot. I can change the color and how it appears, both the border and the background color. And something that's really fun is I can make it invisible in reading mode. So I'm going to turn it invisible, then I'm going to move it over this dog icon. And when I go into read mode, I can now not see it, but when I click on the dog, Book Creator is a great tool. I can hear it. This can be a really fun way to give characters voices in the books that you create. All right, the last thing that I can do is, because I have made that transcription, I can also translate it. I can make a translation, I can pick the voice.
这是含有该
And now I can have that same statement in any other language I want.